we are all set to go for the webinar. And Yuki-san, so like is actually like I've actually worked with Yuki-san for I think close to 5 years already right now, and she's actually been helping foreign students in many universities in Japan, Yokohama National, Yokohama City, I believe that Tohoku as well. And so therefore, like, she's very qualified to be able to give you advice, and I'm looking forward to what she has to say. And so time is yours, Yuki-san.
Thank you. So nice to meet you all. My name is Yuki, and maybe most of you, nice to meet you. And yeah, as he said before, like I've been doing career support, especially for international students. And I usually share career information through this kind of guidance at Japanese university and also my YouTube channel. And so in my session, I will share an overview of knowledge and information for working in Japan, especially for PhD students. So I would be happy if my information could help each one of you to create your career you desire. And actually, I belong to JAPI, and JAPI is a nonprofit organization that provides career support for international students who want to work in Japan. So we sometimes collaborate with government and also universities. Okay, and here's the outline for this session. So yeah, let's talk about the basic information on job hunting in Japan especially for PhD students, because most of you are PhD or some of you are thinking to go to PhD. Okay, so first of all, this is a kind of like employment culture in Japan. And yeah, I think some of you have already known about the system, but many students with a master's degree or undergrad degree are employed in a general position, which is called 総合職 in Japanese. And so if you enter to the company in the position, a company will expect you to gain multiple fields if you enter as 総合職. On the other hand, yeah, because most of you are PhD students, and yeah, you tend to be hired by specialist position called 専門職. This is a big difference between the 総合職 and 専門職. And hiring qualification are also based more on skill than for general position, and job descriptions are often fixed from recruiting stage. So yeah, if you have heard of 専門職, that means, okay, so I'm now applying for specialist position. Yeah, next I'd like to talk about the job hunting schedule for Japanese students. Yeah, in Japan, students' job hunting is based on the schedule, as you know. And I will not explain it in detail this time, but yeah, if you don't know about it yet, you should look it up, because sometimes you need to follow the schedule. And so let's talk about the issue of job hunting for doctoral students, PhD students. So in particular, PhD students face many issues, like challenges in their job search. The first challenge is that recruitment methods for PhD students very different and vary from company to company. So each employer may have a different hiring season or a different recruiting method depending on the position for which you are applying. So you need to be constantly gathering information. And second challenge is that your age and working experience will affect your job hunting activities. And generally speaking, many companies think that people over the age of 28 don't fit into the new graduate hiring category. In addition, depending on whether you are employed in academia or company, like general position at the company, you will need to gather a wide range of information, as there are different websites to check. So I'll share some website later. For this reason, it is very difficult to find a job, basically, compared to master's or bachelor degree students. Next, let's look at the language level Japanese language skills are required of international students by general companies. And many companies, regardless of whether they are in the liberal arts or sciences, they require an intermediate level of business Japanese. It's about N2, more than N2. And it might be difficult to improve your Japanese language skill while doing research because you're actively researching your major. But Japanese language skills are a good skill to have anyway. And this is a survey by the MEXT, and they shows that the only 52.6% of those who found employment as full-time employees immediately after completing a doctoral program. This is much lower than those with a master's degree or undergraduate degree. I guess because open positions in academia are often applied for the final year of study. It seems that, many PhD students miss the time to switch to job hunting in general companies in the middle of their studies, and then they complete their studies without finding a job. So only 53% of students got a job after graduation. So what do you think about the rate? So these are the current situation of job hunting for PhD students. And now we know that even Japanese doctoral students whose native language is Japanese are struggling to find a job because these rates are including Japanese students. So from this chapter, let's think about how to apply to general companies effectively. So to apply to companies by yourself, not like a recommendation by your university, you need to know the traits of some types of companies. So before checking each type of company, I would like to emphasize that looking for companies which tend to hire international students is really, really important. This is because such companies often already know how to switch your visa from your student visa to working visa, and they have jobs where global talent can work actively. Also, to find companies, approaching companies with a wide view is also important. So please check not only large company or popular company, but small and medium-sized company like SMEs and startups. I'm listing the features of each company in detail, so please look up when you have time. So this video is recording, And next, let's see the small and medium-sized enterprise and startups more. So generally in SMEs, international people and their language skills are valued more than large companies. And about startups, since their new employees are expected to contribute to the company immediately compared to large company, so the company value their expertise. Also, they are more open to hiring internationals. Generally. And the next is Gaishike International Company. And some of you may think that Gaishike international companies hire more international people. But the truth is they demand high levels of Japanese skills in their domestic hiring, since their clients are mostly Japanese. Also, Japanese multinational, like international companies are really, really competitive because a lot of Japanese students want to go to the company, the international company. So I wouldn't say that you should not apply to Gaishike, but please make sure when you apply there, you need to apply to other companies as safety. And it is also very important to create opportunities to meet companies in person, not only like submitting your CV, just like meet the company officers. This is because it is a chance for companies to directly see your personality and motivation to find a job in Japan. Not just the skills, you wrote on your CV. So these are main job fairs. I listed 4 job fairs for non-Japanese people. So it may be a good idea to start your search with these events. Especially Career Forum, their target is bilingual talents. So if your Japanese skill is not like N2 or N1 level, like I think you might be able to find some English job offer in the event. Also, if you want to see a large number of job postings for doctoral students, do you know Akariku? Yeah, so checking Akariku is a good way to do so. Yeah, it is Japanese website, but this is one of the biggest career website for graduate students and postdoctoral fellows in Japan. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, it will help you in your job search. And lastly, I have listed the major resources that can help you to find a general job, not academia, but general job. And I divided the various services into 3 main categories. So first, business SNS, second, job posting, and agents. I've also highlighted the services that can be used in Japan, overseas, and both. And each category has pros and cons, so use these resources effectively based on it. All right, so let's think about how to find job in academia. But first and foremost, remember to talk to your professors in your lab and your university career center. So this is very, very effective way to find a job. Okay, but if you want to search online, using JREC-in is a great idea. This site contains information on research positions at academic institutions and private companies in Japan. And there are English page and Japanese page, but basically Japanese page has more job offers. So if you read and write Japanese, it's better to check in Japanese on this website, JREC-in. The second one is nature career. So if you are thinking not only finding a job in Japan, but overseas, in this website, you can search for research positions mainly in like Germany and United States and other English countries. And yeah, like when I searched last year, I found, more than 1,000 jobs in United States and more than 500 jobs in Germany. So please take a look if you're interested in. Okay, so finally, let's talk about the way to expand your opportunities. So when you try to find a job in Japan, just like finding job posting on the website is not the only way. Maybe networking with so many people, and sometimes you might be able to find a position, like very, very secret position. So expanding your opportunities and network is very, very important, I think. And I think most of you are using it, but utilizing LinkedIn is a great way, because like to use LinkedIn, you can find a lot of alumni in the same universities, and also you can find a lot of job offers, and you can join some groups related to your studies. So this tool is very, very useful and important to find a great job. Not only in Japan, but in the world. Also, Wantedly is one of the largest business networking sites in Japan. And they basically have a lot of company list of the small and medium-sized companies, and also like startups. So if you want to find a lot of startups and companies who is growing in Japan, it's great to use it. And the very, very interesting point of the website Wontedly is that like you don't when you apply to companies, like if you apply to companies in other websites, maybe like there is only one button called apply, right? But on Wontedly, like you can see a lot of buttons, like I want to just talk with the officers, or like I want to casually meet with officers, or like there's a lot of selection, and like more like feel like we can casually meet officers more casually. So yeah, I think this is great website. Also using career support service, we call agents sometimes, is also one of the idea. And there are a lot of career support agent for international people, and they might find you the best job through consultation. Yeah, we have agents by the government and also by like private companies. Yeah, and I found a very, very special information for English speakers, also welcome PhD and master students. So let me share this job offer. So this is a job offer by Alps Alpine, a leading manufacturer, and they offer 2-year training and Japanese language education program for English speakers. And they call like International Associates Program, IAP. And after graduation, students who are hired can work as contract employees for 2 years. And they also receive the Japanese training and also other like serious like work training. And also after program is over, many students continue to work for Alps Alpine as a full-time employee. So yeah, if you're interested in this program, please attend the IAP seminar from the QR code. Yeah, I talk with the officer in charge of this recruiting of Alps Alpine, and he's super nice. And yeah, he also was a previous member of this program, and now he is in charge of HR of this program. Yeah, so thank you for listening. And yeah, I'm running out of the time, so let me share the career support for international students by my organization. So oshigoto.com, we are running this website, and this website provides event information, company information, and career support information for international students. Yeah, although most of information is in Japanese, but you can find some English articles too. So please search oshigo.com on Google for more information. And I'm also making videos on my YouTube channel called Yuuki's Career Channel. And most of videos are Japanese, but I made an English video, like 3 English videos related to Japanese job hunting. So please take a look from this QR code if you are interested in. Yeah, thank you very much for listening. So like 2 things that I really want to share to get a job in Japan. So first, please do networking with various people online through SNS, online events, group, about your hobbies or your studies, and so on. Yeah, they sometimes bring you great job offers, job information, and also they bring you a lot of motivation. And also please keep sharing online and offline about the project and activities, like your activity or your research, yeah, you're working hard on, and the topics that interest you. And if you post your interest or your research progress or on SNS, someone will see you, and sometimes great opportunity will be brought to you. So yeah, please don't give up. And yeah, if you have any question, thank you for your question and comments on the Q&A. Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm so excited to hear the story from Pedro and Motaz after this session. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yuuki-san, for your presentation. I believe that was very helpful and we have lots of resources on how that can help people. Just a reminder, if you have questions, please put them inside the Q&A, not the chat. We will try. We will look at the chat, but the thing is that like the Q&A should really be where you'll be putting your questions. And please don't forget to upvote each other's questions if you like them. Okay, so next we have Motaz, who was a PhD candidate at Hiroshima University, who's going to give us a brief understanding about like how he found his job and maybe some of the difficulties that he faced. But yeah, Motaz, please, time is yours. You're on mute, you're on mute, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Nice. Can you see my screen? Okay. So thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Motaz. I'm a PhD graduate from Hiroshima University. And thanks to Yuuki-san, there is plenty of details that I went through. So my presentation will be mostly a living example of a job hunting experience. But let me just brief you about myself first. So my name is Motaz Sabri. I'm from Jordan. And I worked as software engineer for 5 years before coming to Japan. I'm passionate about world peace, and currently I'm working as a research engineer in Tokyo. My talk today will be divided to those sections, background about me, and this will help me tell you why my job experience went through this direction. And then I'll be talking about my experience and choices and how did I end up in this situation. And I'll be talking about what to do after you settle in a job, how you can manage your future career path afterwards. I hope this can inspire some of you guys in your upcoming endeavor. So my bachelor is from Biarritz University in computer engineering. And then before having my higher education, I worked as software engineer in medical applications, aviation applications, and semiconductor production applications. Also, in those 5 years, I tried to create my own product back in the local market, which was mostly about medical applications for clinics and hospitals. I also tried to open my first startup back in my country. It was a bit of a challenge. It's a small country and the market is not really blooming, yet it was my first start in this path. Then I had the choice. Shall I continue in this direction? I have a nice job and I'm closed in my small cocoon environment. It's my comfort zone. Why do I have to change? But I realized I cannot grow any further. And that's why I decided to go to the next step, which is the higher education. I applied to some scholarships. I got the Mombusho scholarship and I got my master and doctoral degree in Hiroshima University in artificial emotional awareness, which is a branch for machine learning. During my higher education, I also tried to open my own startup for the second time. Just to tell you, when I say I start a startup, it doesn't mean when I switch to the next step, I close the previous one. I have the ability to sell it and use that money for another investment to go forward. So the second startup was also related to AI, more to the Middle East market, and mostly for the real estate. It was really a nice idea, but I could not manage to grow it while I'm in Japan doing my PhD, which was a bit of a challenge, which put me in another conflict. Do I have to continue my academic research path, or do I have to continue what I was doing before coming to Japan, which is software engineering? And that was like a big decision to make. To summarize, I had those three options: either continue as postdoc. Hiroshima University gave me that opportunity for 1-year program. And then I had the choice to go for recruiting agencies. But my Japanese was not so good, as I was mostly focusing on research. I'm not so skilled in doing multiple things at the same time, especially about language, or return home. Now, returning home is a bit of a challenge due to political issues, so that option was dropped naturally. The second two options, I had to let go one of them at some point. It was a really challenging moment. As you can see, it's October 2018. I tried to use agencies, mostly like I didn't go through the regular job hunting cycle in which you go to companies and then you enter like orientation sessions. No, I had it the short path, which is through agencies. I don't recommend that one unless you really don't have a choice. It gives you some nice options, yet it's not guaranteed. And if you only have 1 month to make a decision, it makes you really stressed, and it's a bit hard to go any further. I applied to many agencies. One of them was Active Connector, hooked me up with many startups. I was lucky, I got many job offers in that state, and I picked Reg-I to be my choice. It's a machine learning research and consultation company. It does really nice work. It's a startup which matches my passion about searching how to make a company in a situation that is really like overwhelming with competitors. And the choices I made to reach this was LinkedIn. LinkedIn was, I think, the finest choice, especially in IT. Recruiters are always crawling LinkedIn profiles and try to contact you and send you really the best offers. Wantedly, as Yuuki-san mentioned, is like really the finest to have the latest information to mid and small size companies. Active Connector, which is another career center. It was a career center for Tokyo University, but now they are an independent company that try to help internationals, mostly internationals, to find matching companies. They are mostly working with IT, but also you can find other options. Same as Morgan McKinley, they both share the same mission, trying to reduce the gap between graduates, academics, and the current openings in the market. Now, like startups are not that much of a hustle to work on. I know it's challenging. It's a small company. There is no guarantee that you may go forward in your career path. However, like in 3 years, I managed to have something like I cannot imagine in a startup, really small, really like minor impact in the market to deal with such big companies like this. So I worked in a project with Docomo-san, with JAXA, with Japanese steel company, with construction companies, logistic companies, and kind of manufacturing companies. What's really nice is you give solutions that empower those enterprises, which like give you a bit of a self-esteem that, oh, my knowledge I learned in university and my career experience is actually being sharpened to something really nice. Look what I'm doing here. But like I'm a researcher by nature, so felt sad I was not doing the research. So the company gave me an opportunity to publish in conferences and journals. And I was also lucky to have a patent just last month, registered in the Japanese committee, patent committee office. And I'm also filing 2 other patents with the help of the company that I'm working on. But I didn't give up my dream. It was really nice to start a third company this time. I co-started it with a friend of mine. And it has my passion to help those who don't know much about machine learning, which is the new wave in computer field, to master this field in a way that is not academic. No, it's mostly business oriented, which helps them make their own products at some point. I also deliver cutting edge business solutions for global enterprises. Now, after you settle down in a company, it's like no matter how talented you are, you may reach a comfort zone. You feel, this place is just the finest. I'm gonna stay here forever. But you have to overcome that at some point. Other way, comfort zone is not a place that you can grow in. So the fear zone is the place that you have less confidence and you have all excuses all around you not to grow any further. and you can easily be influenced with opinions of other people. Just stay, don't overwork, just relax. It's really nice to relax, but it won't get you any forward if you just stay in that cocoon. Comes later the learning zone, in which you have to deal with challenges, with open problems, and try to use your newly gained skills to make something new, an advancement, or maybe a dream coming true. And in this case, you start to expand your comfort zone a bit. And the last stage is the growth zone, in which you try to reach your goal. This is the last stage, and try to maybe live the dream you always wanted to live. Maybe have a training center back home to help people or minorities to reach the market. And you can also put new goals and maybe try to help others reaching their goals. So just a point once, and I'm pretty sure most of you will find really nice jobs. Don't settle for that job only. It's just a step in your very long career path. So keep growing and don't stop there. And at the end, I would like to wish you all good luck and thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Motaz, for your input. I didn't realize you're actually into entrepreneurship here in Japan, and that's another theme that MSA is also working on. But maybe we'll have a different discussion about that separately. Once again, for everybody who, if you have a question, please look at the Q&A and put your question inside. We already have 10 questions. So if you like any of them, please vote them so that we will answer them with priority once we start the Q&A. But before that, we have Pedro from Brazil, who is also from Hiroshima University, sharing with us his experience finding a job here in Japan. So Pedro, welcome, and time is yours.
Thank you. Okay, let's go. I'm Pedro from Brazil. I'm going to share my screen, but I don't actually have any slides. Can you guys see this? Nothing? Can you guys see me typing text? My name is Pedro. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm from Brazil, right? And I came to Japan in 2015. Okay. Was very similar to Motaz because I graduated in Brazil, and then I came to Japan to do my master and my doctor. And one thing that's different between me and Motaz is that while I did have some not work experience, but I made games. I really like making games, and so I used to make games in my free time. So I actually spent a long time making games and I tried to sell those games, but I never made a startup. I never worked in a company, but I came to Japan and then did my master, did my doctor, and yes. And when I was doing my doctor, I also like Motaz, I was thinking about, should I become a university teacher or should I become a game programmer? And to be honest, this is kind of in the way. Okay, so should I become a game programmer? So to be honest, at first, I wanted to become a game programmer. And then after I started doing research, and I realized that I liked doing research, I started to think about becoming a university teacher. And after I started thinking about becoming a university teacher, I became very engaged in research and I wanted to prove my worth. I don't know if that makes sense, but I started writing many research papers and I got awards and I was very competitive. I wanted to be the best one in the laboratory, in the Kenkyushitu. And it was actually a really good time for me because I felt like my skills were being recognized. And I seriously thought a lot about becoming a university teacher. But I had two reasons to not become a university teacher. And I think this might be useful for you guys who are trying to decide if you want to stay in the academia or if you don't want to stay in the academia. And those reasons are kind of similar to a lot of things Motaz talks about. So one of those reasons is that if you work in I'm going to talk about my experience. Some of what I'm saying might be wrong. But if you work in a public university in Japan, like they call it Kokuritsu Daigaku, you usually cannot do side work. You cannot do other activities. So Motaz talks about opening his own company, and that would be a bit complicated if it's a public university. If you try to open a company in Japan, you might have a lot of legal trouble. There might be ways to circumvent that, but I am not sure about that. I didn't want to get into that sort of mess. Maybe if you go into a private university, you might be able to do that. But what I heard from when I talk to people is that working in a private university is very challenging. Like, they have harder work hours, they tend to do more overtime. That's what I hear. I don't know if it's true, you know. So a lot of what I hear is like street knowledge. It might not be trustable, but it's what I got, right? So I decided against doing the become a university teacher, because I felt like I would be stuck in the university, you know, and then I would have to change my job later or something like that. And we were talking about here about how it's hard for PhD students to get a job in Japan. Well, I can imagine it might be even more complicated if you are a university teacher trying to change your job to something that's not a teacher. Like, the Japanese society might, you know, explode from that idea. But okay, so I decided against becoming a university teacher, and I'm like, oh, I want to make games. I've always made games. I love making games. And then what I started doing is that I started looking up the companies I have always loved. I've applied to many game companies in Japan. I don't know if you guys know, but like, I don't know, everybody knows Nintendo, I guess. I tried to apply for Nintendo. I tried to apply for many places. And one thing that's different that I hear a lot is that most international students, they use agents. They rely a lot on the university. But at least at first, especially at first, I didn't use any agents. I just like go to the website of the company, because I was really like, I want to work in the game companies, you know. And that was very clear. I didn't even think, oh, maybe I want to work in something else. No, I want to work in the game companies. And I know the game companies well in Japan. So I thought that no agent could help me, because, you know, I don't know, like I know so many companies. I know the companies I want to work in. It doesn't matter what the guy's going to tell me. I want to go to that company, or, you know, I was a bit, I don't know, like arrogant. I'm an arrogant person, sorry. And yes, so I wanted to work in the game companies, and then I started applying to those companies, and I started early. I got some information that should start early. Japan job hunting starts early. Yuuki-san talked a lot about that, like that you should start early, that it starts very, like, it's a bit different. Like, I feel like at least in Brazil, it's very free. You can look for a job whenever you want. There's no set period, but in Japan, it is a very strict period. But what some people don't know is that some people start early, some people start late, even in Japan. And what I'm talking about is that some people go to internships and some people don't. And I tried to apply for internships, and I didn't do well at first. I tried to apply for 2 internships, and it didn't go well. And I started to ask for advice from my Japanese friends, like trying to write the entry sheets, etc., etc. And they told me that that I should write like the pre-prepared answers. Like, you should write like this. You have to answer like that. It's like how you do it. Like, you know, you cannot deviate from that. And I was really pissed off at that. Like, what? I don't want to write like what everybody else is writing. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how can they differentiate between people if everybody's writing the same thing? And then I was really frustrated at that. But then I actually went to talk to the people in the university who help with job hunting. And what I find out is that they didn't want me to change my answers. They just wanted me to express myself better. So while my Japanese friends were like, oh, you have to lie, you have to do this, you have to do that, I'm like, no. But the people from the university, they help rephrase what I want to say in a way that works better in Japanese. Another thing I forgot to say, sorry, is that I can speak Japanese really well. I have N1. So that makes a huge difference. I think there are 2 things that makes a huge difference, is that whether or not you can speak Japanese, And whether or not this is going to be about personal experience, but I think it matters a lot if how, like Yuki-san was talking about Seimon Shoku, right? And how Seimon Shoku are you? That's sort of a silly thing, but like I think I even saw one of the questions talking about this. Can I apply for a job that's not in my area? That makes things a lot harder, you know. And the more Seimon techie you are, like the more like the skills you have inside that Seimon, the better off you are, because look at Motaz's his history. Like he went to startups, he did well in research, etc., etc. He's like this gold egg, you know, like it's hard to find a person with those qualities. And so you need those qualities when you want to apply for a job, especially as a PhD student, because you want to stand out. Like finding job hunting is hard, but like if there's only 56%, I think it was 56% getting the job, you need to be better than a lot of people, right? So you need to have things that make you stand out. So I feel like if you can speak Japanese or not makes a big deal, and how much of a specialist you are, like how much you can offer to the company, obviously makes a very big deal. The thing is that if you don't have Seimon, like if you're not such a specialist and you can speak Japanese, you can probably make something work, I think. It will be really hard, but you can probably make something work. And the opposite is also true. You don't have to speak Japanese if you have very strong work skills, because there are companies that will accept this type of applicant. Like there are companies which don't require you to speak Japanese. So you need to get strong in something, right? And I feel like going for becoming a stronger specialist is really important. It will help you get an edge. Yeah, so you don't have to apply for the area you're doing researching, but then you need to have something else. Like you have to be a specialist in that area, even though you're not doing research in that area. Or you don't need to be a specialist, but you need to show that you're really passionate about it, or you have like some proof that you can work with that area. I don't know. You need to offer something for the companies, right? So yeah, like one of the reasons I feel like I could get my job in the game company is because I made a lot of games, and also because I had good results in my research. But that is not to say that I didn't have trouble. Like some companies, especially more traditional companies, they told me, like I went to some special job hunting events, and they told me that I could get some inside information, and I find out that some companies, they don't want a PhD student because they can get a student that goes to, they can get a Seimongako. It's like some students, they go for a 2-year course instead of going to the university. And so they graduate very early. They are like 20 years old, and they apply for the game company. So they go for a company just to learn how to make games, and then they can apply for that company. So they prefer to have a 20-year-old who goes to a technical course. I would call Seimongako a technical course, than to have someone who's a PhD who's like 30. I'm 32 now. So like, yeah, no, I cannot work in that company. Like I will have to, if I want to work in that specific company, I'll have to work somewhere else and then transfer my job or something like that. Do the Tenshoku is what they call it. So yeah, like if you become a PhD, some doors are closed, but some doors are open. And I feel like what I want to say is that some companies will be happy you have a PhD. They will be like, oh, this is a difference, especially if you do well in research. Like some companies, especially younger companies, and so when you talk about games, I can only talk about games, guys, I'm sorry. But when you talk about games, you have traditional console companies, right? Which are older. They are old companies usually, but you also have smartphone companies, smartphone game companies. And I find out that those companies here, they are newer. They are looking for various different backgrounds of people, and they want people who have a lot of talent. And another thing here is that traditional console companies, they usually have a lot of people making the game. Like if you make a new game, like for PlayStation 5, you have like 300, 1,000 people making a game. But if you go for a smartphone game company, sometimes you have 2, 3, 1 engineer making the game. So it makes a very big difference, like the capabilities of each engineer. So it makes more sense to hire someone who's a PhD if you are making a smartphone game than if you are making a traditional console game, I guess. So yeah, so I was talking about starting early, right? I don't know how much time I have. Please, someone stop me if I talk too much. But I talked about starting early, and I talked about internships, right? And then I tried to go for those 2 internships, and then I started working with the university, and then I started making my entry sheets better. The thing you apply for the company, you know, they don't use CVs here for the traditional Japanese companies. I don't know why they don't use CVs. They try to use those entry sheets. And then I started getting better at writing entry sheets. And then I started getting internships. And then I started applying for jobs later. And sometimes I got some special benefit because I'm doing the internship. And that was pretty nice. And I feel like when you go to the internship, you sometimes go to competitions. Like I went to this competition hosted by a game company, and we made a game together, like 5 people get together, make a game. And then I won the company, my team won the company. And, oh, not the company, the competition, sorry. My team won the competition. And that was also something I could show when I was job hunting. You know, I helped make this game in this competition for this company, and we won, and we did a good job. It was a great time. And that was pretty cool. And then we go back to another thing. So I was talking about traditional game companies. And so let's just talk about traditional companies and like newer companies. We were talking about startups before, right? Like Yuuki-san talked about startups. I guess not all new companies are necessarily startups. Like some companies started like 10 years ago. They're kind of new, but they're like, they got a lot of money. Then I don't know if you consider them a startup at this point, but just being newer, like recently made, like made by younger people usually make some things different. And I feel like you're better off going to newer companies. Like they will go for more like performance, they will reward your performance, they will be more understanding, they will have less weird traditions that you don't want to follow really, that should be in the past. And I feel like you should go for newer companies. And one of the reasons why I ended up choosing a newer company and I didn't go for traditional console companies is because a lot of those newer smartphone companies, they allow you to do side jobs. So I think being able to do side jobs is really important for me, because then I have the freedom to go for my passions. If my work isn't going so well, like in the company, you have a lot of limitations, but if you can do your own side job, if you can pursue your passion elsewhere, you can do both really well. Like you can work for the company and you can pursue your passions at the same time. And I used to do that a lot. I used to pursue that really strongly, and I'm still doing that. So I make games in my job and I make games on my free time. So I have no free time, but yeah, I think this was really important for me to be able to do side jobs. At first I was scared, like to ask, can I do side jobs if I work in this company? Like, but then as I started getting to know more and more company, I started getting more confident. I'm like, can I do a side job here? And they say no. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to work with you guys. I do want to work with you guys, but I don't want to work if I can't do the side job. I'm sorry. But yeah. Yes, and one more thing I want to say is that job hunting for me, I did a very traditional Japanese job hunting, like go to the internship, blah, blah. I didn't even use the agents. I did everything by myself. And job hunting was much harder than my PhD. By far, because job hunting in Japan is really hard if you're learning Japanese, because you have to write so much stuff and you have to write so many entry sheets. And I got really nervous and anxious, like thinking about, am I going to get a job? Am I going to get a job? Do I have to go back to Brazil? And it's really complicated. So I started applying for a lot of companies. All the companies I played the games as a kid, the companies I admired, I applied for all of them. And it was very, 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 very stressful, like super stressful, writing those entry sheets and doing those tests. And like, yeah, I was traveling all over Japan for the interviews. I actually liked the interviews, but the whole process was really, really stressful. And I really think you should start as early as possible. Like, even if you cannot apply for internships for, oh my God, internships for whatever reason, like if for some reason you cannot apply for internships, you should research your field and try to do stuff in your field. Like, I mean, it might be hard to do a startup like Motaz or make a whole game. I don't know, like it depends on you, but if you think about, I want to work in this field, you should try to get involved in that field. I have one really good example of this, is that one of my friends, they work for a space company.
Pedro, 1 more minute.
Okay, so I'm gonna close it out. I just want to give the advice about the space company. So my friend works for a space company, and she was job hunting. One thing she did was join a lot of space study groups, and I feel like that really helped her with the job hunting to show something else. So yes, guys, as the last word of advice, I would say just start early. Just find some time to research what you want, find the fields, etc., etc. And I wish you guys the best of luck in job hunting and stuff. Okay.
Sorry if I didn't cut you off.
No, I could speak forever here.
Yeah, so like we have the Q&A right now, but just wanted to like to say a few words. I'm usually about this and something that I do want to add on to what yourself said, Pedro. In my 10 years of being here in Japan, there is definitely a correlation between people who do things outside of their studies and job hunting success. So therefore, definitely, as Pedro mentioned, do things while you're a student, start early, and like, you know, that can really help you build the network and the knowledge that you need to actually get, like, you know, a successful job hunting. Could I have all speakers like, you know, turn on your videos? You don't have to turn on your mic yet, but so because we're going to start the Q&A. Once again, we have the Q&A up, and we have like 19 questions. Thank you all for your questions. Once again, please upvote the questions that you want us to answer. But let's start from the beginning. This is a question regarding social sciences and liberal arts PhDs in Japan. And yes, so there's technical positions for STEM subjects students, but what about for social science PhDs and the idea about overqualification? And is it true that companies prefer bachelor's and master's graduates? And any advice regarding this? I think Yuuki-san will probably be the best person to answer this. Yuuki-san, do you have any thoughts about this issue?
I don't know this person are like expecting, like what kind of answer is expecting, but yeah, like engineering and some like DK people are highly demanded these days in Japan. That's true, but this is not the answer that then like you have to quit job hunting in Japan. So like I know a lot of international students like who have this kind of negative thoughts, and they just stop searching jobs, or like stop just like taking action, and then like, yeah, like you won't be able to find any jobs in Japan. So first of all, like even in the negative, like very challenging situation, it's better to try to find a lot of opportunities and events, and a lot of events like this. But yeah, the situation is still very hard for liberal arts students, like especially PhD students. But then like, do you want to give up, or like, do you want to keep, do you want to keep doing job hunting? Like, yeah, if the situation is very, very hard, it doesn't mean like you should give up. So this is my answer.
I just wanted to add a bit onto this as somebody who sees things from like MSA's point of view. We have to be realistic that it is more difficult for a bunke student to get a job as a PhD versus a person who's in a bachelor's. That is true, but as Yuuki-san mentioned, it is not impossible. The few things you would want to look out for when you're looking at job posts, for example, is whether they write things like, let's say, hakshikhange, whether they accept like a PhD candidates. And this does happen actually. For example, you may have seen Pokemon job posts that I post on Facebook, on our social media, right? In the last year, one of the people that they hired was actually a PhD for a typical business position. So it actually does happen. You just have to look much harder. And especially for foreign students who are doing bunkes, like, social sciences and literature, your Japanese ability becomes very, very important. So in that sense, really work on your Japanese, because that can really give you something that may work more in your favor than having a PhD. So that's just my opinion. And so let me go on to the next question. Is it worth applying for jobs that you do not meet all of the necessary criteria for, e.g., number of published academic papers, or should we give up on these jobs? Any speakers want to say anything about this topic?
The person is asking this question because she or he is interested in the position, maybe. And for me personally, like if you are interested in any position, and if the position is not related to your research or your study, but you can apply. Yeah, you should apply because you are interested in the position. And you might know, but compared to other countries, basically Japanese companies and Japanese companies are focusing on more like students' potential, not only their skill. So if you try to appeal your passion or your like motivation to enter to the company, sometimes the strategy will be applied, and like you might be able to get a job. And basically, like we don't have any like disadvantage. Like there is nothing to lose, right? So like if you apply to the company and if you fail, it's okay. Like you can just apply like other companies then. So
I have a point to add here. As there is a very nice secret I learned while working in startups. People love to apply for many companies, even if they don't match the criteria, just to sense what are the questions does those companies ask, and then when they want to aim for their favorite company, they sum all the experiences they gained from the previous companies and head for that company ready. So if you got rejected for any of the previous one, it doesn't mean you are bad. It's just like the vacancy available there is not suitable for you, but you gain experience, so go for it.
Great answer.
Go for it. No, you're not going to get killed for just applying it. The whole thing is that,
Right.
just go for it. Yeah. Next question. Is there any site or agency for finding jobs in a Japanese governmental organization? And in general, how? I'm assuming this person is looking at things like maybe JICA, maybe places like, the government think tanks, these kind of organizations. I don't know anyone in particular, but Yuuki-san, do you know anyone?
Like I was thinking, like if the person is thinking about like finding a job of the like 公務員みたいな like government
the public
officers.
service.
Yeah. But like if so, basically the public officer in Japan like only available for people who have like Japanese national. But sometimes the 地方公務員, the local government officer, there are some positions open for international people. And in my research, I don't think we have like kind of navigation sites, like career website for the 公務員, like government officers or like local government officer. But like if you are interested in just like Google the name of the, you know, the government, and then just check the recruitment, their recruitment and non-profit organization. I know JICA かな? JICA might have a newsletter, but it's Japanese. It's Japanese newsletter, but I like the JICA has weekly newsletter. They send they correct a lot of non-profit organizations position. So yeah, if you're interested, just search maybe JICA newsletter if you Google it.
I think I just need to add that there's multiple ways of looking at it. Number one, public servants at a central ministry need to have a Japanese passport. Usually, yes, that is true. But when it comes to things like, for example, government-linked organizations, JICA, like things like the Keizai Sangyo Kenkyujo and stuff like that, right? Like you don't necessarily have to be Japanese, but the thing is that clearly they're only going to hire a foreigner for a certain position over like international facing and stuff like that. But as Yuki-san, my own understanding is also that there is no agency or a website that collects all of this. You have to Google and look at each of their individual websites, is my understanding. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Can I only job hunt in the field that I'm currently doing research? Like if I am a PhD in chemistry, is it only chemistry jobs that I can apply for? Anybody of the speakers here? Yeah. Pedro, I think you're, Motaz first, yes? Motaz, yeah.
Yes, for where I work now, most of the engineers are not IT related. They are into optic engineering or chemical engineering or bio engineering, and they are doing AI effortlessly. So if you are willing to take the effort to go through training, many companies are willing to do so if you are able to catch. And I think many of those who switched fields are actually excelling because they came up from another field and they introduced that knowledge into our field, which means they are introducing something really novel. So I encourage that direction as well.
Pedro, do you want to say something like in addition?
No, Motaz said it all. Like also even taking the example from Japanese society, you see that a lot of people who finish their bachelor in Japan, when they go for job hunting, they usually, like, it always makes me amazed. Like most of my friends, they go for jobs are completely unrelated to their field. Like I'm always like, why did you go to that university? Because it's like it's so different sometimes, and it really feels like they even thought about that from the get-go. Like they went to this university because they could get in or they could get into that course, but they always thought about becoming a komuin, for example. Like I have a lot of friends who do various courses and they all want to be komuin. It's like, yeah, there's many possibilities. Like even in my company, the game company, there are many people who never played a game in their lives and they just have a great time making entertainment. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and actually on that point, I am one of those people because I became an IT engineer, even though my background was political science. So the thing is that, you know, it does really mean that there's two things I want to say about this. Number one, because of the way that Japan works in a very potential-based hiring way of doing things, as long as you can prove that you have, like, you know, a decent mind and preferably good Japanese, so there are going to be companies that will want to invest in you. So that's number one. Number two, when you're doing things like chemistry, for example, actually de facto, many times you are doing programming. Because the thing is that you're doing things like, you know, data modeling and these kind of things, you can become a data analyst as well. So for many of you here who are actually watching us, right, I would kind of think of it as take a second look at what actually is a skill set. there may be things that you are already doing, which is a skill set in itself rather than chemistry. If you're doing economics, you may be doing data visualization already, for example. So it does depend on your priorities. I know some people who want to do chemistry, they want to do chemistry, but if your goal is to look for a job in Japan, right? Thinking a bit more about what exactly have you been doing and kind of quantifying that in terms of your skill set may actually broaden your, your options in terms of where you would actually apply to and where you would be applicable. Okay, so we got a next question about experience. So there's a few parts to this question. Does freelance work while you are a PhD or as a student count as job experience is number one. Number two, how much do you have to match the requirements to apply? I think the match with the second question, we've already answered it just now. You can always apply, nobody's stopping you to applying. But what about freelance work? How can you package freelance work or actually part-time work in general as a form of experience, or is it even advisable? Any of the speakers, do you have any opinions on this?
Maybe a bit with freelancing experience. I'm talking about programming because that's my field, but of course there are other examples that we can relate. Sometimes you have limitation on what to expose when you share, I work on this project in my freelance experience. Some contractors force you not to mention their name or what did you do for them. But I think the experience you gain in the freelance is really deep because you sometimes cover end to end, which is the thing that people ask in the interviews. Like, can you tell us how did you deploy this part? Yeah, of course, I know because I did this and I connected with that. So you don't have to mention the name. It counts, but you can mention it as projects you worked on, not years of experience. And for us who like sometimes go through like lots of resumes, those things catch our attention. Like, oh, this person did like end to end. It's really inspiring thing to work on. But I don't know if you're talking about other things like maybe design or character design. I don't know if anyone experienced freelancing with that and how fruitful it is for your resume to be included. But programming, it's enriching.
What I find out is that especially when you're applying for something that you don't have a lot of work experience in, they want you to show everything else you've done. Like, at least that's how I see, especially when you are, the younger you are, the more they value those things, you know. Even if you wrote, I guess they value those things too, you know, like I work on this, but I did a fantastic job on this part-time job for this company. I learned this, I did that, I could manage to do it because of this and that. And if you can do this, you can sell yourself because that's what you need to do, right? Like if there is someone else who is very similar to you, but they don't have that experience, that's the difference you have against that person, right? So I actually think you should do those, like look for freelancing, look for, don't stay stuck in the university, you know, like don't just do the thing you're doing. Like if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna be just focusing on the university, you can, but then you have to try to really be really good, you know, like you can either be really good at something or you can do many things. But yeah, if you want to do freelancing and if you have done freelancing, you should definitely put it all there and try to show how it can help you when you actually get to the job.
Much agreed.
I really agree with Motaz and Pedro's ideas. And I sometimes think the company's qualification on the job description is kind of like things the company wants you to sell. So like it doesn't matter the length. Like if the person don't do anything for 2 years in the company, you know, there is nothing to sell, right? But like you are working on some project on freelance, and yeah, if you have a lot of things to sell, yeah, to the company, I think that's great, and it's good to apply, I think.
Generally, companies want to have people who are trustable. Doing freelance work is a form of evidence that you are trustable, that you have actually produced something that was value for somebody else. So yes, it is actually valuable job experience. And regarding, it's not just programming, any kind of job position that requires that allows you to build a portfolio. All of this applies. So design is that, translation is that, and other things as well. Even like, event planning. If you've shown like event planning already, the fact is that event planning is a very, very difficult field. And if you have shown that you can do it, then please put it inside your resume, because it can be a very good conversation starter as well during the interview. Okay, this one is an interesting one. How was the process of publishing a paper under a company? Can you use your name as a first author? I believe this, I think it was Motaz, like you mentioned your experience. Yeah.
Yes. Of course, the company, you must agree on that. Like with it's included in the contract that if you want to publish papers, who is the owner of the content? The company allows me to be the first author, and if I have a collaborator in the team, of course, their name will be mentioned. The patent is a bit different. The full ownership is for the company, and but your name will be mentioned there. But the company has the right to use or like profit from that patent afterwards. But paper-wise, you are okay to be mentioned first. Of course, the name or the acknowledgement must mention the company at some point. Like for me, I use my name and the company email for contact, and then mention acknowledgement at some point when necessary. Of course, those publications are related to our clients as well that we are working with. So you must also collaborate with them, telling them, we're gonna use your name for acknowledgement, do you mind? Or we're gonna use some of the information we gained while working with you to publish this content, are you okay? If they say no, this is canceled for sure. If they say yes, go ahead, don't mention our name, you can also go ahead with that approach. So yep, there is, everything must be legally documented to go further, and the company will take care of this at a very early stage before you join the company, because they do have experience in that direction, especially research companies.
Thanks for the answer. And let's look at the next one. What about the career market for medical or biological sciences relevant fields rather than academia? Because most of the time the events focus on IT and on engineering. Maybe I want to answer about this. Just so I think the first thing I do want to say about IT and engineering is because right now, based on HR statistics, for every job hunter in IT, right, as in with experience, there are 8 open jobs. This is the biggest shortage in the Japanese labor market right now, which is why you see so many of that. And not every field is going to be like this clearly. Regarding medical and biological stuff, right? The career market isn't bad per se. I mean, if you look at, I did post a friend's job post on our members area Facebook group before, and there are people who are hiring. It's just a matter of like how far you dig and how deep you dig until you find a job. And also not only that, because the thing is that even in biological and medical sciences, some of them will want strong Japanese. Because well, I guess it does depend. But yeah, this goes on to more about how you should be doing the research rather than what we know, because we only know so much, you know. So it's more along the lines of, have you been Googling? Have you been talking to your alumni? Have you been talking to your senseis in your university, asking them like, you know, so where have your laboratory graduates tended to go? And things like that, you see. So it's more of how you probably want to do your own research. But does anybody else want to like
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So I just searched like medical science because I'm not familiar with this field. I just typed keyword, and then like I found like more than like 150 results, and I'm sure some of the job offer we can read in English. So yeah, just like take a look at these job offers, job descriptions, and yeah, if just check like how much skill do we need to apply to the companies, and like what kind of people are working there, or like it's easy to check. Just like go to the company's website on LinkedIn and just click people here, and yeah, we can find a lot of profile who are working in the company. So just try to research and see the markets. That's, I think, the best thing that you can do.
This also applies to any other field. If you're doing policy as well, you know, like policy analyst, like, you know, searching for these kind of terms. So this is just like, you know, like advice for everybody here. If you're not sure about the field, please do your research. Google, LinkedIn search, talk to your senpais, talk to your alumni, and talk to your senseis as well. That probably will give you a good idea of where you can start. Okay, this one is an interesting one. Doing PhDs in business management the person's asking this question wants to begin their career in IT, even though the IT knowledge is very basic. Is it possible for PhD graduates to do this and begin like bachelor graduates, or do companies not like hiring old PhD graduates for bachelor level starting positions?
You have some options. Maybe you could apply all of the positions and see like the HR people think about it, like based on your experience and preference.
There is that, and I think it's more like as I mentioned at the beginning, from the beginning of the Q&A, we all have to be realistic, right? Your success rate is going to be lower than those for the bachelors. That is a fact there, and there is no way to dispute that. Your success rate is not going to be zero though. So therefore, if you think that it's going to be zero and you don't apply, you're going to get a zero anyway. So you probably should apply. And after all, another thing is demonstrate that you are learning by yourself already, and that you have a good, and that you're responsible, and that you can learn quickly. And as long as you can do that, I'm sure that you will find at least one company that can give you like a chance. Oh, this is like the biggest question ever. Can you give us some advice on how to write a good entry sheet? I think we can do this in a different webinar, because Yuuki-san, like professional career counselor, what do you think?
Yeah, how to write a good entry sheet. It really depends on where you want to apply for. But firstly, definitely you should check the company website, and when you check the recruiting page, they definitely have something that like have like 求める人材. How can I say in English?
So
Like,
the kinds of people that they want to hire. The kinds of people they want to hire.
Yeah, and if like first you check the contents, and try to link your experience and your strengths with these 求める人材. So this is a very, very basic strategy though, but it's very, very important. Yeah, a lot of students try to copy and paste of their, like, you know, strengths and like 学生時代頑張ったこと, yeah, experience in their like school time. But yeah. Oh, there's earthquake. Yeah, that's it.
Is earthquake? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in Singapore now, so I don't feel any yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should do the webinar, another webinar too.
Yes, about the entry sheet, and maybe another one for interviews. I think that's an important one.
Or check my videos.
Yeah,
YouTube video. I made a video about how to write essays.
It's in the chat. Please, people, like, you know, I posted the link to Yuuki-san's, like, you know, YouTube channel already in the chat, so please look at it. The next one we have down here: what is the correct flow for job hunting or PhDs? Apply as a new graduate or apply as a mid-career? The answer is that it depends. And yes, correct, Pedro. Very well said. Please subscribe, comment, and like for Yuuki-san's videos. And because very important, that's what every YouTuber will say, right? But anyway, the question that we have right here is about the correct flow for job hunting or PhDs. Do you apply as a fresh graduate or a mid-career? The problem is that this is the kind of question that the correct answer is it depends. The correct answer is it depends. And I actually have my own blog where I actually write about these kind of topics. So I actually have a blog post specific for this thing. Please take a look. It does depend on your age. To be honest, it does depend on your age. It does depend on the hiring company. It depends on your skill set as well. So the thing is that it's a really like, it depends kind of issue. Does anybody else want to say anything about this topic?
Well, I applied for around 10 to 12 companies, and they were mainly IT and like game companies, and all of them accepted me as a new graduate. But one of them, they actually, in the day of the final interview, they came up to me and said, huh, you sure you didn't want to apply for the like job change instead of I don't know, chuto, they call it chuto in Japanese.
Mid-career.
You sure didn't want to apply for the mid-career thing? Like, why did you? I'm like, no, I'm okay. New graduate is okay. Because the reason why I didn't apply for chuto is because there is no information. Like, nobody says anything about this kind of thing. Like you're 30, you did a PhD, you did tons of research. Do you go for chuto? Do you go for shinsotu, like the new graduate or the mid-career? And there is no information. Like, one thing you can do is send an email. If that doesn't make sense, then you have to treat it case by case. You can try to apply as a shinsotu, and if it doesn't work, they will probably tell you, sorry, you cannot because you are a PhD, and maybe you can go for the chuto. Or maybe they'll just say, we don't want anyone like this or something like that. But yeah, it does apply case by case, person by person, I think. So yeah, it's just complicated. Like, they really want people to graduate from college and go straight to job. Before they graduate from college, they want to go straight for job hunting when they are 23 or 24, like they have 22, very specific age. And anything that's different from that, they just don't put it in the website, you know. Either you go by the rules or you are very irregular kind of thing. Anyways, yeah, that's all we can say here.
Yuuki-san, anything to add about this?
No, it's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
I think we're already at 4:30, so I just wanted to do one last question before we finish the session. So there is a question about, will there be a problem if I quit my PhD to job hunt? I will add on to this question by saying that actually amongst the people that I know who are working in Japan, right, there are quite a few former MEXT scholars who interrupted a PhD and found a job to start working. It is an option. It is an option for anyone here watching this to stop your PhD and work. I just wanted to say that please find a job offer before you quit your PhD. Yeah, don't quit first, then look for a job. That is called suicide, and that can cause you that can cause visa issues. Okay. So the thing is that, like, you know, I'm not sure how you're going to navigate the conversation with your sensei and your stuff like that and things like that. But it is an option for you to do your shushoku katsudo, your job hunting while you are still a student. You get the job offer and you tell your sensei, I am sorry. And because I am sorry, and I'm going to say bye-bye at this period of time. To my knowledge, the people who have done this so far have not been asked to return their MEXT scholarship or anything like that. So that's one thing that please be aware of that. So yeah, just be aware of the option and do not bomb yourself by quitting first and then trying to find a job. It will not be fun. I can tell you it will not be fun. Anybody else wants to add anything about this? I'm sure like, you know, like Pedro and like Motaz, you know people who stopped their PhD to work, right? Like, anything you want to talk about from their experience?
Yes, I do have like a couple of friends who said like PhD is not our thing, and like it's time to start making money. We're getting older, and once we get our PhD certificate, we will find it really hard to find a job. But the question is, why did those guys start the PhD in the first place if they don't really believe in it? PhD is a life-changing experience. Like, you are never before like the same person as you started the PhD. Many of those people said, oh, like we had nothing else to do. It's like, no, you must have a passion about academia. That's why you picked PhD. Or you have this answer is directly like, I think, oriented towards the guys in master that are about to switch to PhD. If you are just following the path, like reconsider your choices. Like not because everyone else is going in that direction, you must go there too. PhD will put your direction in research mostly, and it will cost you 3 years of your life. In career-wise, as Pedro mentioned, it is like the older you get, there is also a chance that your experience is sharpened in one direction that not many company is in favor of. So once you start this path, know that you are there to continue an academic path or research-oriented path. You are not the same as like a business person or a salaryman who will just take his salary at the end of the month and just sleep. You must like honor the certificate you gained in those 3 years. And it's those guys who already started, there is no harm in that. It's your life. So like no one else will pay the price of those 3 years if you don't like it, if it's not your choice. So yeah, you can stop, but there are consequences. You better talk with a supervisor. Some people, like let's say a country X, couple of those people left. Some like I think they start to have a reputation in among the research community, like in the university. Those guys from that country, they always quit. So don't give a bad example for those who will follow your path. Try to keep the path clean and know your direction in advance.
Pedro, yeah.
No, I don't know. I understand what Motaz is saying, but like Shen said in the chat, one of the participants on the talked about like sometimes people don't know what they want, right? And yeah, but like Motaz said, like if you get into the PhD and like it's not, maybe for the masters you can kind of go, you know, with the flow, but in the PhD, you know, like if you are midway and you're like starting to think, why did I go here? Then maybe you should quit soon and you talk to your supervisor, talk to the university. Sometimes some supervisors have problems with students. In that case, talk to the university, they will try to help you. Look for help, don't suffer by yourself, always look for help. Inform people, let the system know what you're going through. And yeah, like doing a PhD just to do it, it doesn't really make sense. I think it's not gonna help you that much in the resume, kind of. In Japan, it puts you into a awkward position. And yeah, like if you're inside the PhD and you have a second thought, maybe you should stop if that's not your thing. Like there's no reason to push through, I think. That's my opinion. Unless you do want to become a university teacher, even though you don't like research. But I don't think that's a good idea.
Not a good idea, probably. Okay, so that's all the time that we have for. Yeah, okay, yes, you can, yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
the last thing. So I wanna talk to especially for students, like participants whose major is bunke, liberal arts, because some of them might be a little nervous about their job search through this session. But I think you guys also have great abilities to appeal to companies. Like for example, like ability to think like logically based on your research, like logical thinking skill. Like you guys definitely have like higher like logical thinking skill like compared to other like bachelor degree, master degree students, and also ability to work hard on a single research project for a long time. Yeah, and also could be communication skill with your team members, lab members, and professors, and other maybe your hobbies or other projects. So don't be too nervous and try to focus on your good points and try to appeal your good point to companies. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. And thanks so much for that. The thing is that, you know, there is no such thing as 0% percentages, 0% success rates when it comes to job hunting. Also, there is what you are, but also how you package it. And the packaging often makes much more of a difference than what you are. Just a few end points. Just putting Yuuki-san's YouTube channel once again inside the chat. Like, comment, subscribe, so that the YouTube gods will favor her her channel. So that's number one. Number two, after this, there will be a survey that will pop up for all of you who are still watching this, and please give us your feedback. This is not going to be the only webinar that we are doing this year regarding careers. We may change the theme a bit here and there depending on what your feedback is. So please give us some feedback. And yes, recording of this will be put online once I get some editing done. So yeah, you can see that in the next following few weeks. Next MSA webinar is kind of still in the planning, but we're planning to have a webinar side of like a webinar entrepreneurship webinar, regarding a MEXT scholar, former MEXT scholar who's actually working in Japan, who's actually founded her own company in Japan. So please take a look. Please stay out for that if you're interested in entrepreneurship in Japan. Okay, so that's all the announcements that I have for today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we really hope that this will be useful to you. Yuuki-san, you just posted a link about Alps Alpine. Do you wanted to say something about it?
It's okay. So the job offer is kind of very special job offer. So it's a reminder. I was talking on my presentation, but Alps Alpine offers a very rare rare training program for English speakers, and also PhD students, master students are welcome. So if you are interested in, just click the link and check inside.
This is why it's important to join these kinds of events. You get this kind of information. Yes, and so the people who are still here, I mean, tap yourselves on the back because you're doing a good job. And for coming on Saturday afternoon with all the sakura still blooming, and you're still here, and that's actually a very good sign of what you're doing. Okay, so thanks so much for joining us today. I really hope that I'll see you in further events. Like, comment, and subscribe to Yuuki-san's channel, and I hope to have you once again in a MSA webinar soon. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Stay awesome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.